Welcome back. Now, Gauteng has announced a sweeping overhaul of senior government leadership, and the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says that the province has decided to reshuffle some heads of departments and to remove others from their responsibilities. Now, this comes after the Premier released a second tranche of the 39 forensic reports into allegations of corruption and misconduct at various provincial departments. Now, to elaborate, we are joined in studio right now by the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Thanks so much for coming through. Always a pleasure having you.
Good morning, Sakina. Are you well?
I'm very well, thanks. Are you well?
One day we'll all be fine.
All right. So I take it you're not too fabulous.
One day we'll all be fine.
What you had to announce yesterday.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about these investigations, what prompted them very briefly, just to bring everybody up to speed, and then, of course, the subsequent release of the reports.
Sakina, South Africans are tired with corruption. We can't be deaf forever. And if you have evidence like the reports that you had, honestly, you have to act. There will be no need for us to pamper over damning reports of maladministration, risks to whistleblowers, where people come and give us information. Instead of administrators acting on that information, they organize syndicates to eliminate people. That kind of administration is not fit to lead us in Gauteng. And when I went through those reports, even though some of those reports are as old as 20 years ago, but I just felt that we can't allow this laissez-faire where people feel that they can continue the way they are. When service delivery is deteriorating, we can't even utilize the funds that are allocated to us. When you go to our hospitals, you go to our roads, the potholes and other things, and people are sitting on budgets and they don't utilize them. So we felt we need to reset the button and send a very strong message that we can't tolerate this conduct anymore.
So just on a point of clarity, this is at operational level, at the bureaucratic level, and not necessarily at the political level.
Well, I felt that sometimes we rush to make changes at the political level when the administration feels that they're there permanently, they can't be touched, they're the one that taking some of the decisions. I'm evaluating now the executive management, but I felt on the basis of under-expenditure, missing of performance targets, and on the basis of the audits and forensic reports that are at my disposal, you have to go to people that are administratively responsible for that, and that's the reason why we've taken the decision that we've taken.
So let's talk about the reports at your disposal. How many reports do you have on your desk right now, and how many have you shared with us as the broader public?
So far, we've released the first batch was 42 reports. Now we're receiving almost 39 reports. The team that is working on these reports indicated that the next round might be around 20 or so of the reports that still need to be released. What we have done is that every report, before we release it, it should have run its full course, which simply means where police are needed, we should have the case number, and where disciplinary hearing is needed, we should have already have that disciplinary hearing, so that we don't issue reports that is work in progress, and when people see them, then they change their attitude, their acts, and modus operandi. So we need to finalize them first, and on the basis of that, release them. So I'm told the remaining 20 are at an advanced stage to be finalized as well.
So from those that have already been finalized, let's talk numbers.
Yeah.
How many people are implicated, and what sort of action has been taken?
We've flagged 88 people, of which I think around 32 have been dismissed. Others we have left to the serious investigation unit like the SIU and the Hawks to take over. And there are others that are currently with the courts, because those that have been flagged have challenged us, and we feel that we need to attend. And there's other batch that is with the courts, because we want to recover the lost amounts in terms of freezing and taking over either their cars, their houses, their farms, or their businesses. And we've already recovered 3 million, which I still think that is a drop in an ocean. That is now back in our bank accounts. So they're at various stages, but we're acting all of them, because and this final act of changing HODs, we really believe that it sends a very strong message that it's not business as usual now in our province.
And of course, we are still at a disadvantage as the public for not having, access to these reports. So please explain that in terms of why we still don't have access to those reports.
Well, we feel, and it's a double-edged sword, we feel those that have given us these reports and have cooperated, and they've made us, for example, to sentence people to court, for people to be sentenced in court, that we have to have a courtesy to go to them, that we're about to release these reports, and your name is there, are you comfortable? And others have come back to say they're not. So where they're not, the team is still removing their names, so that by the time we release them, their names are not there. So that's the only delay. But we have the reports, we have given them to the regulator, information regulator as well, so that we can adhere to the POPI Act and the request for information that people have gone to request the regulator as well.
So how long will that take?
Well, the first batch, the 40 that are available already. People have, and there are many media houses that have written stories about them. So I'm quite convinced that in the next 48 hours, the one that we released yesterday will also be in the public domain on our website.
And you say the redaction pertains simply to the names of the whistleblowers, so
and witnesses in some of the cases.
All right. And of course, just looking at the people who have been implicated, what are they implicated for?
Well, it's quite a range. There are those that have influenced the outcome of contracts, that is tenders, and there are those that have mismanaged funds in terms of irregular expenditure. And there are also minor ones where people have taken leave without filling the leave forms or notifying their bosses or being absent without notice. And there are serious ones where there's a misuse of government assets. And therefore, we felt that all of them should be investigated, and the forensics has given us the reports, and that's why we are acting.
So you flagged 88 people.
Yep.
55 charges have been laid.
Yep.
So are those 55 charges charges to different people? 55 different charges to different people? Or do some people have more than one charge against their name?
Let me give you an example. There is a hospital that was procured during COVID. The initial amount, let's say it was 10 million, it ended up being 30 million. So all the people that are responsible for that value chain, all of them have been charged. It's 3 of them. So there are cases where people are charged as a group, and there are cases where people are charged as individuals, and there are cases where people have resigned, but because they've resigned, they're no longer with us, we then have utilized the law enforcement agencies to recover them. So it's different groupings at different levels.
So given that there are 88, why have the others not accrued charges against their names? What was the reasons for that?
I missed that, Sakina, sorry.
So, because you said 88 people, but 55 charges. So, have all 88 been charged for something criminally or not?
No, 55 are criminal. The remain, obviously, is internal disciplinary hearing, where they have to go to a DC, and others, as I said, they've gone to court. We've charged them, but we've not completed because they're disputing the charges. They've gone to court, the labor court, and those that have been dismissed as well, they've gone to relevant institutions like the CCMA and other institutions for arbitration. So they're at various levels, but it's overall 88 people that we really believe that they have a case to answer.
And all of this comes down to the public trust. And the public had the trust deficit between government and the public is massive. And this, the public would say, bears out what they have been saying for many years. Now, with that said, in terms of people who've been flagged during some of these audit outcomes, if those people are moved, for example, the ones identified in the lifestyle audits as being at risk or of high risk in certain departments, if you are moving those people around, Premier, what sort of message does that send to the public?
But if the report is say move this person from high risk to a lower risk, what kind of standing will you have to dismiss that person? They don't say dismiss it. They say that is high risk purely because either he has a secret account that he didn't declare, and they really believe that if that person has an account that he didn't declare, it will be much better to remove him from a high-risk responsibilities to a lower-risk responsibilities.
So give us an example of that. What would be a low-risk responsibility then?
Well, where you interact with big business and big companies and you are taking decision on big transactions, whereas your credibility is not in good standing, it's a high risk. And you'll rather be better off to chair a committee to prepare for G20, where there is no financial responsibilities. So that's the kind of responsibility you're talking about.
And this is where the trust deficit creeps in. Because for as long as the same people are circulated, people feel that nothing really changes. And perhaps what the sentiment is that there needs to be systemic change, a systemic overhaul of what is going on in our government departments.
But the same people who complain. How many politicians have been taken to court accused of corruption? The court set them free. The same people says what?
Yeah, but at least it has been tested then,
I'm saying,
the court of law.
And that's my point. We have to learn from that. So we have to follow procedure, follow processes. And I understand why South Africans are impatient. I'm personally impatient, Sakina. There are many things that I want us to do. That the administrative system is rigid. There are many things that I really believe that we need to attend to. But the administrative system feels that they're there permanently. You can't touch them. They've seen other politicians coming. You will come and go, and you leave them there. And that kind of attitude needs to be taken down. And I'm glad that they've started. There's no other provincial government or national government that have done what they've done, where we remove HODs en masse the way they are. It's because I'm impatient. I'm of the view that the economy is not performing, but we're not assisting. There are many people that are unemployed. There are many people can't have access to basic facilities like water, electricity, and other things. And because we have them, and these managers also have these facilities, and their children are in institutions that are fine, they don't see the need to spend money, and they don't see the need to ensure that we don't have these challenges that we have. I'm impatient, and therefore we have to act purely on the basis on the issues of trust deficit that we have. And it's massive and it's increasing.
The public is even more impatient, especially when you have people in positions who are underspending in education, in health, just to name the two, because and I single those two out because those two were the biggest underspenders, and yet you would say in Gauteng, those are probably two of the most critical portfolios where money needs to be spent.
But are the departments, heads of departments still there?
And why isn't there someone for health, given the magnitude of the problems that they are there?
Because the lifestyle of that individual have not been concluded.
So what happens in the meantime?
Until you have evidence, you can't move people. So if we have their final report, and it's the only report that is outstanding, if you have a final report that is outstanding because they want either to do extra checks or go and have additional information that they feel that is not available, what must they do? I must be patient with them and say, do it quickly, I want to fire this person. It does not work that way. They have to conclude their responsibilities, give me the report. I had a session with the MEC responsible for that department. I had a session with the HOD responsible for that department. I had a session with the SIU, and I employed upon them to conclude all these investigations.
What are the timelines?
So that I can take that decision. I wish I can tell you, but as soon as I can get it tomorrow, I can get it next week. As soon as I get that report, I'll act like I've done with those that have got their reports.
Because I think that is also important, where people want to see action sooner rather than later. But then
responsible action that will not backfire, where the resources of government will be used to pay lawyers, or resources of government will be used to pay somebody who will be staying at home doing nothing. So we have to be particular, and we have to be clear, and we have to follow the law to the letter. Unfortunately, we are a constitutional state, and there's laws in our country that all of us must adhere to. I might need to be excited and say, remove, go home, and do other things. In the ultimate end, it comes back to bite us. Who will suffer? It's the same residents. If we don't have, we have to pay people settlement accounts or handshakes. I don't want to do handshakes. I don't want to pay.
Fair enough. Yeah. But the point remains, it needs to be done expeditiously, because people are tired.
That is why I've done it.
People have now run out of patience to tolerate the sort of things that we've been seeing for the longest time. a 705 million rand worth of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Unacceptable.
Completely unacceptable, Sakina. And that is why I'm waiting for the last round of audit outcomes. The Auditor General has finalized their reports. Whoever, when I receive these reports next week from the Auditor General, whoever has increased on unauthorized expenditure or irregular expenditure, I can assure you, Sakina, I'll come back here again to announce how we've moved them. We can't tolerate this. South Africans are just, I nearly used the wrong word. They're tired.
Yeah. They are hurtful. But I'm not even talking about unauthorized, because we understand that sometimes things happen and emergency procurement needs to have. I'm talking about fruitless and wasteful.
And that is why when I saw the letter from the Minister of Finance directed to the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, I had to have an emergency session with him to say, what is this? Because if you can't get Johannesburg right, you're not going to get Gauteng right. Johannesburg is our anchor city.
But why has it been left to deteriorate to this point, Premier? Purely
because of the political choices that voters made. Johannesburg has been unstable for the last 7 years or so. Electorates felt that there are political parties that need to be removed and new political parties need to be replaced. And those that came to replace the party made the situation worse. That's the reality. But also, Sakina, when you say 37% of South Africans are unemployed, who gives them water? Who gives them electricity? Who remove their waste? Or to stay in a country where if you're unemployed, you don't have water. Municipalities have to provide those services. And we all know those people are unemployed. And indirectly, it will affect the municipality's business model or revenue base. So it's very important, therefore, that we look at the broad revenue enhancement. Me and you probably have removed from the grid. We are no longer paying the municipality. We are getting electricity differently. And big businesses are doing that.
Well, that is true.
Yeah, and therefore, the revenue base of the municipalities have been eroded. And
but does that bear out the reality on the ground, Premier? If we say 37% of South Africans are unemployed, what is the unemployment, rather the recovery rate from the province in terms of collecting revenue? Is it 37% or is it greater than that?
No, fortunately, we get funding from national government. So we don't have a huge revenue base. The revenue base that has increased from our base is your driver's licenses or when you renew your car licenses. We've increased that. We've doubled, purely because there are more cars on our streets and other things. But municipalities don't have that luxury. Municipalities have to give water to somebody that is unemployed, because water is a basic human right. Municipalities must give houses to those that don't have houses.
Fair.
So
but who should pay for it? Yeah? Who needs to pay for it then?
That is why we say the white paper on local government that is currently circulating, we're urging all South Africans to put their ideas there so that we've got local government that is sustainable and local government that can function.
Correct. Because it's not fair to charge those who do have a job and are paying for their services to subsidize those who cannot pay. If people cannot pay, that is government's problem. And government needs to subsidize them, not fellow South Africans, Premier.
If we can tackle corruption, we'll save more money.
Why aren't we tackling corruption?
That's why I'm here today, to say we are tackling it, we are attending to it, we are removing those that don't think that are assisting us to fight corruption. Because if we can tackle corruption, almost 80% of our problems will be gone. Hospitals will have medication, streets will be tarred, and will not have people that are taking money from government for doing nothing. And that's where we need to concentrate, and that's where we need to invest our energies to.
I'm coming to visit you so we can have a more discursive discussion on specifics. And that was the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. You may have seen him yesterday speaking about the release of forensic reports into allegations of corruption and misconduct at provincial departments, and of course, a huge overhaul of heads of departments in those various entities. So do stay with us. Tell us what your views are as well.